Well, hello and welcome to our Liberty NaNoWriMo write-a-thon special. I'm Heather Biedermann and the Liberty Librarian, and we have special guest host Allyson Szabo. Welcome, Allyson.
Hi.
How you doing tonight?
I'm good. A little tired. It's been an interesting week.
To say the least, it's just been crazy here too. We're in Minnesota. We're about to have our first little winter storm starting. I think tonight, overnight, it's supposed to snow. So I'm not mentally ready for that at all.
I once it hits November, I'm good with snow because I'm originally from Canada. But
Oh,
I New England, we don't usually get snow till like end of November, usually around Thanksgiving,
yeah.
except for the year that they had to cancel Halloween.
We had a Halloween blizzard one year. It was just crazy, but I feel like that's too early for snow. I think from
Yeah.
here on out, it's fine. It's fine if it snows, and in fact, it kind of the blurring of our seasonal holidays. It's fine. We were just talking about, like having Halloween decorations, and yep, and you're wearing Christmas shirt. It feels a little early to me, but I get it because I
You
want all the sparkle and beauty of the holidays.
I know, and this does have craft herpes on it. It has sparkles,
Yes.
which I love.
I don't know, like I do costuming, so every once in a while I just find glitter on things and I'm like, yep, it's gonna be with me the rest of my life.
I generally avoid glitter. But I made an exception. The first year we moved to this house, which was like 10 years ago now. Wow. We moved here in October, like the middle of October, and of course November 1st is the twins' birthday. And so they knew people because we had been ferrying them up to school. Hi,
Yeah.
Tim.
Hi Tim.
And we were ferrying them up, so they knew people up here, and it was all good. So it came to their birthday, and I said, "Well, invite all the kids over." And we filled a pinata, and my sister and her husband are watching me, and they're like, "Are you putting glitter in there?" I'm like, "Sure, we have a front room, and there's nothing in that front room.
It'll be
There's nothing there.
fine.
It's just a big empty room. We don't have any furniture for it. It's going to be empty for a year." I said, I'm gonna when they crack this pinata open, it's going to be fairyland, baby. I tell
Uh-oh.
you, I am still finding that glitter.
You're like glitter forever. Oh
The,
my
the,
god.
our rabbits are in that room now,
Oh,
and they flop, right? And we were brushing one of them the other day, and there was glitter in his fur.
they're sparkle bunnies now. Forever and ever. I love
Yeah.
that. Well, you've
So
learned your lesson. No craft herpes if you can avoid it. That's what we call it in our
same.
costuming. Craft herpes gets on everything and you'll never get rid of it. Oh, and look, we have a Bully Baby Cloud. Hello. Nice welcome and joining us. We're on our NaNoWriMo adventure together. It's kind of been a slower week for me in writing. I picked up a little bit yesterday, but I got majorly stuck on my writing. How about you?
So with me, it wasn't getting stuck so much as so So I've always sat down at Nano and gone, okay, I'm going to write this, and then I'm going to edit it through January, and then, send it out for test reading and la la la. I
Yeah.
know my plan, and I'm good, and even if it takes a little bit into December, I'm cool and I'm chill. This year is the first year I have become a popular enough author that
Ooh.
I have two publishers who are vying to have me write this van life cookbook.
Oh,
And I
cool.
have to have half that book finished, ready for them to look at by March.
Okay. So
And so every time I sit down to write science fiction, my brain is going,
cookbook.
you really should be working on the cookbook, because that's going to pay money. Because I'm going to be really honest, I love writing my fiction. I
Yeah.
adore it. I'm never giving it up, and I don't care. The 100 people out there who have bought my books, thank you. I know you all personally.
Yes. Yes.
But that's the problem, is that they don't, because I'm not a big named author, and the cookbooks are starting to get really out there, and it's
Yeah.
been really exciting. And so I'm working on that, as I'm actually hoping to go with a traditional publisher, and that van life cookbook, I'm crossing my fingers. I'm trying to get a deal with Campmade,
Ooh.
who does this thing that goes with your cast iron to make it a smoker and a pizza oven and all this other stuff, and it all
Ooh.
fits inside one cast iron, so it doesn't take up any extra space for those people who are van lifing. So you get
Perfect.
multiple uses, and you get an oven, which most people in a van don't.
Oh yeah. You need the
So
space.
yeah, and I really love the idea, so I'm trying to make a deal with them, and I want this book to go in places like Cabela's and Bass Pro, and that requires a whole other level of stuff that I haven't
Oh,
done before, so
can you
yeah,
imagine how awesome will that be? I mean, really, it could be everywhere.
I'm excited.
Oh man. Okay, so how about this? Instead of doing all of your writing time on your fantasy, do part of your fantasy and then do part for your cookbook.
Nope. I promised myself I would never do a cookbook for Nano again. I
Oh, it is hard. I
It
tell
doesn't
you, I
work.
get it. It's really hard doing nonfiction for Nano because
It
you have to
is.
be really organized.
When I
Oh,
did this one, see, and I have my copy, so I
yes,
can show it off.
beautiful. I
There
love
we
that you
go.
have it right there.
This is obviously my author copy, because my good ones are downstairs. But when I wrote this, I did it for Nano. Was it 2 years ago? And then it came out last October 30th, and it like usually when you're doing indie sales, right? You get this big glut where all the people who know you and love you go out and buy a copy, and then their
Yeah.
friends go out and buy a copy, and then maybe the people who meet them in the lunchroom and go, "What's that? Oh, cool, okay." So you make that like first 100 sales, and you're like, "Woohoo! I'm on the
I'm the
train with
best.
the bandwagon," and then it just dips off, and nothing happens for months. That never happened with this cookbook.
No,
Um,
it's amazing. It's such a good book too.
Thank
Honestly,
you.
if you guys are interested in reenactment and cooking, this is an amazing book. You all should rush out and buy it because you know how to write this stuff. You do amazing with it. You are such a good cook. So
Thank
I
you.
mean, it's just amazing. And I totally see this van book, the van cookbook, is really going to take off. I know it.
I think it'll be very popular. It's hard for me. I'm used to cooking that way. So big portions.
Yeah,
Okay.
for a big group.
I have a family of 5. And the fact that I'm cooking over a fire, and I often serve 100 people, that
Yeah.
doesn't faze me in the least. But cooking for me and my boyfriend, this is a skill I'm still learning, and I'm not good at it. And the whole van life cookbook is learning how to cook for 1 or 2 people, and I have to be able to test all these recipes. So
Oh, you know what though? I mean, you're stretching your comfort zone. That's kind of cool.
I am, and it's one of the things that's keeping me interested in what I'm doing, which is important in my mind. But I wanted to talk about my fiction for a minute, because
Yeah.
that was where I ran into issues.
Yes.
And I will say, for the record, as I'm one of those annoying people who always sits down and always gets their words done, and like, I do all these encouraging things and tell people, if you get behind, don't get down on yourself, and because I never do.
No, I know. Well,
I'm one of those irritating people.
you're one of the people who inspired me to do NaNoWriMo because
Oh my
you're just
gosh, really?
like you stick with it. Yes, you totally stick with it.
Well, I've never not made my words. I mean, I've occasionally had days where I was sick, or Thanksgiving, where I knew I wasn't going to make words, but not just, So Monday, I had a dentist appointment this Monday, and
Oh,
I don't deal well with dentistry, to
yeah.
say the
No.
least. And I could not focus my thoughts to do anything. I couldn't even watch a show. I actually sat and played gem games on my phone for 4 hours. I
Well,
could not get my head into it.
well,
And then
I totally
Wednesday,
see that. If you have anxiety from it in any way, or it's gonna throw your whole day off. It's
yeah,
understandable.
and I'm medicated for everybody else's safety, so.
Well, that's good then, right?
But I sat down, and I'm just like, I'm looking at my stats here, and I actually haven't put today's stats in yet, but
Yeah, look at
because I'm not
mine.
finished writing for the
I
day.
didn't. I haven't written anything today yet, so this will be my first writing is
Oh, okay.
today.
See, like the first day I chunked out 2,000 words, and then another 2,000 words, and then another 2,000 words, and then I chunked out last week. I got up to just shy of 10,000 words last
Oh, that's
Wednesday
very good. Yes.
or Thursday. And then I didn't write anything. Well, I wrote like 500 words, and then I didn't write anything. And then I only wrote 100 words, and then I didn't write anything. And then I got back in the game, and now I'm up to like 15,381. And today I sat down, and when I sat down, I have so far today, I managed to chunk out 2,300 words. So I mean, like, I'm doing okay. But getting back into it isn't easy. And I had to like take today, I got a haircut and stuff. So I did self-care this morning.
Yes.
And then when I came home, I was like, I have to sit and write. So everybody just go away. I put my smooth jazz on. I locked myself in my little cupboard here. I had my coffee and I just sat down to write. And that's my big thing is you have to think of writing like a job. I actually have a guy I've been mentoring who I met. He's in Britain and he's a first-time writer. He's been writing articles for a long time, but not books. Right. And I said to him, he's like, what can you teach me? I said, I mean, the biggest thing I can teach you is treat your novel writing like your business writing. Yes. So the difference is that you're not going to get to the end of your writing each day. No. Like when you're writing a blog article, it's 500 words, and maybe it takes you 200, 2 hours or a day to do that. But it's a whole different mindset. Yeah. So when you sit down to write, you think to yourself that 2,000 words that I write for the book today is the same as writing a whole article or 4 articles in a lot of cases.
It's true. And even though you may be a fast writer, you still need to do it. You just got to do it.
Yeah. I mean, if it's once in a while and you find there's a day and you just can't, sometimes it's worth it to just push through it. But sometimes it's not. On Monday, I realized that sitting down to write was going to make my anxiety worse, which is going to make me not want to write at all. And so I took that as my self-care day. I had tea, I relaxed, I played my game, I did inane things, I colored for a while.
I love coloring. That's so relaxing to me.
I have a Doctor Who coloring book, so.
Ooh, very fun. I love that. Well, and I think I was talking to some students at the college today, and they had talked about how anxiety and depression makes it really hard to get things done. And so you do have to take care of yourself and have self-care. And they were talking about it in the context of schoolwork, but I think it's like all work. I had days during the pandemic where I could just barely do anything. I could barely get up. I was just so worried for everyone and, about the world in general. And that's hard to do. I mean, you got to take care of yourself a little bit too. It's
one of those weird things. If you have a lack of insulin in your body, there is no one out there that's going to shame you for going out and taking extra insulin. If you have a lack of liver enzymes, nobody's going to get mad at you for going out. If you have problems with your kidneys, no one gets mad at you or thinks any less of you for getting dialysis. If you have heart problems, getting a stent isn't an issue. But boy, if your brain lacks serotonin, boy, does everybody feel like they have the right to shame you.
And that's BS, man.
It is.
I mean, it's your brain. You know what's right for you.
and I will say, I don't like taking meds. Okay, I don't.
No.
But you know what? I take meds because they make my brain work better.
I got to a certain point in life where I realized, you know what? I needed that, and I needed to do therapy for a little while, and it really helped. It freaking helped. And now I can do things, and my husband is super happy because I'm not like being mental every day, and it's so much easier to get work done if you're not having a meltdown every other day,
I'm one of these weird people. A lot of people did not have any clue whatsoever that I suffered from anxiety.
Oh yeah. No,
so
I'm
I
really
hang out
good at covering it up.
Well, I hang out with a lot of people who have public anxiety. So they get out in public, and I'm the person who's out there going, "Hey, I'm Allyson. How you doing?" La 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 la. I get up in front of people and I do wedding ceremonies. You know,
Yeah.
I can do preaching. I go and do a talk on writing or books or this stuff doesn't bother me.
Mm-mm.
But I was going to go to an event and my bestie couldn't go. She got really, really sick. And the other person who was going to go with me got really, really sick. And I was going to have to go by myself.
Oh
And
no.
my hubby had to basically stand on me and say, "No, you're going to this.
Yeah.
You need to do this and you'll
Yeah.
be okay once you get going." But even like when I had not realized how bad it had gotten before the pandemic, I ended up with dental issues and it it came out
Oh,
because of that. They
yeah.
put me they put me on Valium to calm me down while I was getting the
Oh,
dental work done because I had to get 3 teeth pulled.
oh
And
man.
I
Oh,
was like in the kitchen and I'm like, la la la, and I'm doing chores and stuff. And my hubby's looking at me going, "You okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fine." He's like, "That's not normal."
no. And you're like, oh, I get it.
I took those pills to the doctor and I said, "Okay, first off, you have to destroy these in front of me because they make life way too easy. And
Yeah.
second off, we need to find a less damaging and addictive way to make my brain do at least some of what this was doing for me because I was able to do my chores and I was able to focus and I was able to not panic. And
Yeah.
now getting ready for a camping event, I still make my lists because I forget things, but that's because I'm going through menopause.
Well,
Menopause
you
brain is a
know,
real thing.
and
But I mean,
and I wonder though if like a lot of writers have this because the way our brains are, we visualize things so well that when anxiety hits, we see all the options of how things can go wrong and the worst of everything.
I'm
And
I'm not saying it's aliens, but it's
it
aliens.
could be aliens. Oh, I swear to God, I was in a class and I said, "Well, in case of the zombie invasion," and I was actually very serious, and they were like, "Oh, that's hilarious," and I'm like, "But it could still happen, you know. You have to prepare. You never know." But
If you're prepared for that, you're prepared for everything else.
exactly. And that's why I mean, that's why your book is so awesome for cooking. Cause then if society falls apart, you can still make beautiful dinners and eat, and everyone needs to eat, you know?
Exactly. The thing
So,
that I worked really hard on, in particular with the reenactors cookbook, was the whole beginning of the book has things like it has a whole thing. It says this section is focused on providing information for the novice chef. If you're already familiar with cooking terminology and styles, you can probably safely skip past here.
yeah.
And then I go in and I explain, what does it mean to brown something? What does it mean to boil? What does it mean to parboil? What's poaching? What's sauteing? What's toasting? What does
Yeah.
dredging mean? What does scorching mean? Because it occurred to me that I use these
Cooking
cliquey
terms.
terms all the time, and they have very specific meanings, and I know what they are. But
Well,
I mean, I've picked up medieval cookbooks and looked at them and went, I don't know what they're saying. And then somebody said to me, "Yeah, that's how every cookbook looks to me." And I went, "Oh, oh." Thanks for the feedback, Alicia. I feel that way too.
oh, I know. Well, and I was thinking with your book, just a lot of the kids today don't ever really cook anything. So they might not know the terminology. It's good to go over it. You don't know where they're starting from.
That's right. Not as many people, in fact, hardly any people, learn how to cook at their grandmother's knee. I didn't. I did not learn to cook until I was in my late 20s.
What? And you're making cookbooks. That's amazing. I grew
It's
up with
always
like Julia Child and what is it? What is it? The
the
public
frugal gourmet.
television, Frugal Gourmet, and Jacques Pepin, and yeah, we watch a lot of cooking shows growing up. So I know how to cook. I'm just not like I just don't do it that way. I just make little things, But I love people can cook like that. It's amazing.
I can do fancy stuff when I want to. A lot of
Yes.
times when I'm cooking, I do what my family likes to call peasant food. There's
No.
lots of it. Nobody walks away hungry, and it multiplies. So if 3 extra people show up, you just add more chairs to the table.
Everyone can eat. This is the way it should be.
But I mean, I do fancy things once in a while. One of the books that I'm working on is called Fantastic Feasts and How to Cook Them.
Oh, like Fantastic Beasts. I get it. Yes.
I'm riffing on it. What can I say?
I love it.
But it's foods that I have created based on books I've read or books I've written.
Oh, very cool.
So, for instance, tonight we had for dinner, I actually had coq au vin, which is chicken and wine.
I love
my
it.
sister made it, and I love it. And it's really tasty. But my boyfriend is vegan.
Oh, so he's not going to like it.
So he doesn't do coq au vin. But what I did do was I took all of the meat out, replaced the beef broth with vegetable broth, and I made mushrooms in wine.
Perfect.
With some barley and other veggies. And the flavor was really good. And that ended up actually being a recipe in my fantasy novel last year.
Hell yeah. That's amazing sounding. I love mushrooms like so much. Here comes my cat. He's like, hello. We haven't talked about me yet. No, I see Alicia had a question or a thought about cookbooks. She said she's been buying cookbooks lately, so she has hard copies. Also, people's parents didn't teach them to cook, and a lot of people depend on quick foods. She's making lasagna right now, LOL. You know, and lasagna can be quick, but it can also be really slow. I know I've done it that way too.
We've done lasagna from scratch. My hubby makes noodles from scratch.
Oh, wow. Those are so good. I have no time for that, but it is amazing when you get it.
We do it about once a week. We make some kind of pasta from scratch. We made spinach pasta a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, and so good.
It hadn't, you know, those great big containers, the plastic containers of spinach.
Yeah.
There was an entire one of those in this 1 pound of pasta. I was mincing that thing forever, but it was so good, and it was so green.
Oh, and Alicia, I saw that Alicia posted she got a KitchenAid mixer today. So that's super fun. Watch out, cat. Oh, he's just got to walk right in front of the camera.
Of course.
And you know, when I think about like some of the special tools, it's so much fun. I mean, like Allyson, you could be doing different cookbooks just on different like techniques over
it's
fire,
true.
Everything. Like you could be doing this forever, honestly.
I have a baking book that I'm writing too.
You have so many books. I'm just jealous.
I know everything is on the. I have so much stuff in my brain. The cookbooks are different. What I do is I sort of write. I get recipes in my head, or I try them, and then they go in the cookbook afterward. So what happens is that the cookbooks get written sort of piecemeal. And that's why I said I'm never doing it for Nano again, because you can't write something piecemeal for Nano.
I'm having that problem with my nonfiction too, Kat.
Yeah, it doesn't translate as well for most things. So, you know, fiction is fine. The sci-fi is fun. I mean, I'm really excited about the story is fun.
How are you like gonna fix your slump? How is this going to work out?
So today I do different things. I have what I call my emergency writer's block kit.
Ooh,
so every year before Nano starts, usually in September or October, I go on Pinterest, which is a whole den of ineptitude for me. Anyway, I spend so much time there sometimes.
Yeah.
But what I do is they have tons and tons of writing prompts.
Oh,
which
really?
you don't think of for things. So let me see if I can pull one up here. No, not Pinewood Lodge. Jeez. Sorry. There we go. Pinterest. Sorry, when I have the camera up, I have it up so that I don't look so chunky. So, for instance, you go on and mine automatically populates with writing stuff because I look it up. But here's Latin phrases worth knowing. Ad astra per aspera, to the stars through difficulties. Alice volat propolis, he flies by his own wings. So that's just like a random one that comes up. But each year when I do NaNoWriMo, I create my own bookmark that's based on the book that I'm writing. So,
so it's kind of populates a little bit more on the subjects that you're interested in?
Just on the ones that I have an interest in. So this one has to do with aliens. So it says here, as much as I love Earth is Space Australia, I love Earth is Space Australia, and the aliens haven't figured it out yet. Far more. Because let's face it, humans have a great ability to go on and on about minor inconveniences while at the same time severely underplaying the big ones. So aliens get the impression that humans are incredibly weak because we spend a day in bed from a headache or gripe for an hour about a paper cut and then turn around and walk on a broken leg or consider a gushing head wound nothing big to worry about.
It's okay.
It's just a flesh wound.
Just a flesh wound.
So this one has stuff about, and the weather has nothing on the animals. The aliens are used to some large toothy predators, maybe a couple of little poisonous skittering things, but large orange felines that are capable of blending effortlessly into their environment, rodents capable of chewing through metal, small fish that climb into your reproductive organs and can't not be removed. That's horrifying.
That
Even
is
the most
horrifying.
So I populate the section that I have with a whole bunch of these things. So I go looking for them. And my deal with myself is if I have writer's block and I just don't know what to do, I number them. And then I have a random number generated that I go to and it spouts out a number and I go, so it's like 12. So I go and I look up what number 12 is and I have to write about that next.
Yeah.
And so I sit down and I write it. And it might be largely a copy of what was in Pinterest, but I'm still writing. But most of the time it's funny. So I start writing with my characters and it makes it amusing. And I have to figure out how it fits in. And so it gets my creative juices going. 90% of the time, I dump it when I go back and edit because it doesn't really necessarily fit in with the book. But once in a while, I hit gold. So,
you're like,
it stays in. There's a whole section in Bloodwater, which is the vampire novel that I wrote last, where she learns she's an I'm gonna get a little spoiler here, so if you don't want to know, it's just a minor spoiler, but she finds out that she's not a blood magician, she's actually a necromancer. And in the process of that, she's like, so what you're saying is that I'm really super into recycling, see, because we reduce, reuse, and reanimate. And that was right out of the Pinterest thing. And I totally used it in the book. I wrote a whole chapter around that one line. And I love it.
I mean, like that would not come naturally to me. And I'm thinking it's just amazing that led to that because it works perfectly. It's so cool.
I will go to great lengths to get a bad joke in. And so, but because I populate that section of Pinterest with that board with just things that have to do with my book, it doesn't really matter what I pull out. It's going to be at least partially germane to what's going on. And so it gives me a pre-populated idea bank that I can call on.
Cool. Yeah.
And so that's really helpful. And sometimes it's just the act of like, I'll get halfway through writing it and then something will twig in my head and I'll go, oh, wait. And I'll just like dump it off to the side and go back to my main story and everything is great.
That's perfect then. I mean, it sounds like you've got a really good system because no matter what, even if you get stuck, you have something that can kind of help dig you out. And it's worked. It's freaking worked.
It does. And frequently, if I'm getting into something and I don't want to write it, so I have to be in a particular mood to write a sexy scene. Ooh. Not sex scenes, but the lead up to the fade to black stuff.
But lusty a little bit, yeah.
Well, yeah, because I got vampires, right? So vampires is, bitey.
It's a lot of that sexy stuff.
But I have to be in a particular headspace to write that, and quite frequently I'm not when I'm sitting down for Nano because I'm like, I need to write. So what I do is I put in big square brackets and in all caps I put write sex scene later, and then I move on.
Yeah.
And then in January when I sit down to look it over again, I go, oh hey, I gotta write that, and then I find a day when it's good and I get in there and I write it. The science fiction book that I'm working on right now is very heavy on the science. There's a lot of stuff where my characters are referring to actual science that's in existence now that I don't know. That's why I have a co-author.
It's so helpful to have somebody that can jump in and do that too.
Oh yeah.
There's some things I don't know how I would write it. but it's like having people with military background and military history, and they know all of that. And it would take me like years to get to the same point where they could write something in half an hour.
Yeah. I mean, I've always wanted to. I'm a huge science fiction nerd.
Yeah, same here.
I lived through, Asimov and Heinlein and Herbert and all that's what I grew up on. And I don't have the math or the science background to write it, but I have good writing skills and I have good people write. I can write about a scientist. I just can't put into the scientist's mouth all of the right words. So that's what he's helping me with. And so all through this book, it's peppered with add in psychobabble here, add in science babble here, something about orbits here.
Well, and then he would be like, "Oh, I know exactly what to put in," Whereas your strength is setting up the narrative and getting everything to fit together. But
I make the people come alive.
Yeah, but he can make the science come alive. So it's a great pairing, really.
It is. Yeah. And I have one character in the book who is essentially, I mean, she's not me, but she's me. My brain is sort of stuck in her body. She's a language specialist.
Cool.
And they had asked her to come on the thing because they thought they might find dead aliens. And the idea was she is good at decoding languages and figuring out dead languages, and helped decode a lot of manuscripts and things, and then that were found in the desert and all that. They didn't expect to find live aliens. She's kind of like standing here going, I don't know what I'm going to do now.
Yeah,
y'all talk just fine.
This is different than what I thought.
but she has
stories where they turn the expectation on its end. Sometimes work out even more fun. I love that.
What does a language, so here's what I'm doing right now. What does a language specialist do when they are no longer there to translate the language because the people that you're talking to are having it's a TARDIS type translation. The ship does the translating. So whatever you hear is in the language you're most comfortable in.
Oh, sort of like a babblefish kind of thing where you hear it.
Right. So our language specialist, when she hears things, she's the one who figured out it was not speaking English because she was angry about something and she started hearing things in Russian, and that's her mad language.
Oh, it's an emotion-based kind of translation.
It picks the words that best fit the symbol that it's communicating. Oh. Because when you're communicating across species, you may not have a lot in common. And so there are certain things that, everybody eats. So if you're talking about a food, it'll pick a food that's close enough to get the concept across. And she doesn't do any translating at this point. But what she does is go, okay, guys, it's calling this a bus. I don't think that it means that this is a bus. I think that it went into our brains and looked for something and went, God, these people are so fucking primitive. Okay, we're going to just call it a bus because it's the basic concept is the same. And so that's how we ended up with this word.
Oh, because you're like, why do they call it a bus? Is it?
It's just a great big spaceship that's so far beyond our own that none of this makes sense. Why would you call it a bus?
Because that's what we're trying to help you dumb humans. We're doing the best we can.
There's a scene I haven't written yet where she is part of a conversation where the computer AI gets talking to some of the scientists in the group, and they're talking higher math concepts. And she hears this weird stuff that she kind of understands on a conceptual level. The scientists are following along and then all of a sudden just stop. And they're like, now all we're hearing is wah, wah, wah. It's like a Peanuts episode. What's going on? And she's like, no, I think I can explain this. And they're all looking at her going, how can you explain this? You don't know math. And she's like, no, the concept. I got the concept. Here, let me try, because it gives it to you in a way you can understand. And they're all math people, so it was trying to give them math. She's not a math person, so it had to dumb it down into language.
Oh my God.
And
how
so
cool is that?
It's a different concept, and it's not one. I mean, I've seen like the TARDIS and the Universal Translator in Star Trek and things like that, but this is a whole different thing, and it matches what I know of psychic phenomenon that we've actually done research on, and what I think we might run into out there. So
That is so amazing. I love your ideas. They're just so much fun, and like I can totally understand how it all fits together too. Like you must have the most fun thinking of some of this stuff.
I have weird dreams.
I love that. Oh, that is so cool, man. I'm just like I feel like I'm stuck, but I think that my nonfiction stories, I have a bunch of different stories that are outlined, but um, I think what I really enjoy though is adding the creativity to it. But I sometimes feel like with NaNoWriMo, like I get so stuck on using my outline that I don't get to have as much fun with the nonfiction as I'd like to. And I think
Yeah.
later on, I'm probably going to end up adding way more fun things to it that I feel like I've skipped over, glossed over. And I mean, it kind of bothers me because I like to write kind of we talked about this last week where we not what's the planter, like seeded
Yeah.
plants, but planters. I like having a general outline, but then I like to fill in things.
Yeah.
Sometimes I don't know with this NaNoWriMo, I just don't know if it works great for nonfiction or not. Like, and you had said the thing about the cookbooks. I'm not entirely sure it's the best thing ever, but it gets me going.
I think, yeah. And that's what it gets you writing, and it gives you goals. And that's the helpful thing for me. A friend of mine wasn't sure she wanted to do NaNoWriMo this year, and I'm like, "Oh, come along, it's a journey, have fun." And she's like, "I'm not going to make 50,000 words. What I'm writing right now isn't going to be 50,000 words. It's not meant to be that long." And I said, "Then don't make it your goal to do however many words you're going to do, or make yourself a daily goal. It doesn't
Yeah,
have to be, I mean, for all Nano is this huge big, National Novel Writing Month, and it's a big deal. We get to make it up ourselves. The win is your own win, okay? There is nothing out there stopping you from saying, "Oh yeah, I wrote 50,000 words."
yeah. I mean, you just like gotta type that much. I mean, I am blazing with my numbers this year though. I'm already at 30,000,
Oh,
and
nice.
but I mean, it's going to be so much editing. I know it. But I just got to keep going. I'm a little worried about Thanksgiving, because I always like during that holiday weekend, I always screw off. I always screw up. So I want to get as much done as I can before that.
Yeah.
And also I have I have 2 classes, so I have finals and final projects to do
Oh,
that are
geez.
the week after. The first week in December is my finals. So yeah, I'm gonna be pushing it, but I'm trying this week to get as much done as I can. So if I can hit 50,000, we'll be good.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking maybe we should do a little writing sprint. Are
Sounds
you
good.
feeling it? I gotta pull it up. I just realized I had it off. So give me 1 second. I'll pull that bad boy up. There.
We put it
Let's
in the
see.
Alex Trebek music. Do do
Oh,
do
do,
do.
do, do. If it was like that, then I would start dancing, and that might be a little a little bit odd, but I don't think people would mind that much. Let's see. Here we go. Here is my timer. I'm gonna share the tab audio. Here we go. And I'm
All
gonna
right.
switch this so we can see us. Let's see.
People can
Where am
watch me
I?
type. I'm so
Oh
exciting.
God. I know I'm super not exciting, but let's see.
Eh,
Here we go. We'll play this and then I'm gonna change. Oh, there we are. Okay.
All
I'll see you in a
right.
little bit. Oh, and that's it. That was 15 minutes. Woo!
Sorry.
You're like, wee!
Wait, I have to come out. Wait, brain,
Nope,
disengage.
That's all right. I was like getting towards the end, and my cat had to like walk in front of me a few times, so I knew the time was running out. And I checked, and I'm like, yeah, he's a good timekeeper, that cat. So how did it go in your little writing burst?
I got almost 1,000 words written.
You're so fast.
I type really fast.
That's amazing.
I'm really excited because I'm caught up to where I had to be on goal for the rest of the Nano. So now I can start building up my buffer again, which is good. There we go.
So awesome. I can't believe it. I was, I got up and I grabbed another soda, but I got a really good couple paragraphs out of it. And I stopped a couple of times and thought I wanted to add a part that I missed in the beginning of one of the chapters. And I just went back and I did it. And I had a lot of fun with it. And I was like, it's just those moments where you're like, this is actually working. And it didn't get a lot of writing done, but it was really good writing. Some days I won't get.
Excuse me.
Oh, I know, man. It's like when you have a long day, sometimes it's just hard to fit writing in. I just think about that. Sometimes I've written on my lunch breaks. My cat's like, I've written in the morning. I've written at night. It's like whenever I can fit it in. And I mean, lately I'm taking classes, so it's just like, when can I do this? I'm just working to take little breaks and do it as much as I can.
Yeah, jam it in when you can.
Exactly. That's what she said.
That's how I do writing when I'm doing the cookbooks, actually, because I'm constantly looking for things to put in the cookbooks. I'm like, I'll be like, oh, well, this is like 2 days ago I had made salmon for dinner. And yummy. I made way too much and there was a bunch left over. And one of the complaints was that I hadn't had the things that I usually put on the top. And so it really wasn't that flavorful. It was kind of plain, which is why there was leftovers. So I took them and I made salmon patties. So cool. I mixed, I flaked the salmon, the cooked salmon, and added in breadcrumbs and eggs and mayo and spices and formed them into patties and fried them up, which is great. And then that afternoon, just as I was working on that, I had an offer from somebody to put a recipe into a promotional Christmas cookbook thing that they're making, that they're going to hand out to people. And they were short on appetizers. Did I have any appetizers? I'm like, yes. As a matter of fact, I do.
What are the odds of that? Oh my God.
A lot of people are reaching out to me for food. I'm actually, if anybody's listening who's interested in Christmas foods and Thanksgiving foods, later on, probably next week sometime, I'm actually going to put up 2 Christmas dinners, the whole meal.
Oh wow!
On my Facebook page.
Oh.
So there's going to be the big one for people who are cooking at home.
Yeah.
And there's going to be the van life one.
Oh, fun.
So it's going to be how to
to
cook yourself a 1-person Thanksgiving meal in a single pot.
Oh, that sounds amazing. I can't wait to see it.
So,
oh my God. That's so fun. I love it when, like you can really help people out with your ideas too. And I think that's just amazing. I love it. Oh,
I have fun with it because I like teaching people how to cook. And this gives me the opportunity not only to teach them how to cook, but how to eat better. Because a lot of the van life people eat a lot of frozen dinners. Because you can heat them up at gas stations, like you walk in, you buy one, you heat it up, you eat it. And they're not always the healthiest. And I'm like, you guys are driving around, you have access to the best freaking farmers markets
everywhere
in the country.
You just gotta, we all have like the internet too, so we can look up where they are and just like, you don't have to have a huge fridge because you can cook everything that day. You can just
That's
pick up the
right.
stuff and make it right then and eat it.
Exactly.
That's so
So
cool.
so I've been looking at, what the seasonal stuff is and how to cook it and how to do it in small. And I actually have my sister's the baker.
Oh,
I bake
cool.
bread, but she does desserts and she's really good at them.
Oh.
So I have set her to, you know how you can get mug cakes for the microwave?
Yes, I've done those. They're
Okay,
fun.
so they're yummy and they're fun, but I have challenged her on how to use a cast iron pot on a single burner to
Yeah.
make 2 cookies.
Oh, what a good idea. Like to
So
keep it
how
small.
Yeah, because I thought if I can make it so that we mix up like a 1-gallon baggie of the dry ingredients, then all you
Yeah.
have to have is the wet ingredients and you scoop out, you mix, and then you form it to cookies and cook it. And that way they don't have to
Cool.
carry a lot of baking things, but on those rare occasions you want to have a cookie and you want it to be warm, darn it, you should be able to.
Well, and one of the books I'm working on is kind of a little bit of a diet and health book. And it's I'm not telling people that you can't ever have the things you like, but just moderation. So that's such a great idea. Be able to just make a couple cookies instead of
Right.
eating a whole dozen cookies.
Or
You know,
buying a dozen cookies, which you don't know what the ingredients are because you can't read them.
exactly. You know exactly what's in there. And if you have dietary restrictions, you can make it exactly how you need it to be.
Exactly.
That's such a great idea. I love your ingenuity. It's so much fun.
I'm having a good time with it. I'm going to be delving into doing baking in cast iron on a wood burner stove.
Oh.
Uh, it's not as hard as it might seem, but
It's
it's not
so
easy either.
hard. No, but I feel like if anybody can do it, you can totally make it all work and make it sound easier.
So I've done baking in cast iron um, over a fire.
Yeah.
Okay, and so you don't actually bake over the fire. Over the fire is for boiling and braising and stewing and things where you need a high heat.
Lots of
But when you're
temperature.
baking or roasting, you don't actually use the fire. The fire's over at that end. What you're doing is you're using the fire to make coals, and you pull the coals over and you surround your cast iron. So the cast iron was the basis of the original oven.
So
That
it's like
is,
even heat all the way around it.
that's why they're called Dutch ovens. It's
Yeah.
an oven.
With that
And
dry
they're
heat.
right. So if you look at good cast iron has a lip on the top.
Yeah.
That's because it holds the coals.
Oh,
That's the
I didn't
purpose
know
of that.
that. Oh. See, I learn something new every day. That's
So
why I like this.
when you go to cook or roast or broast in cast iron, what you do is you can sometimes start it over the flame. Like I'll do bacon over the flame.
Mhm.
Aw, booty cat.
You love me.
But then you pull it off to the side and you put it down in the dirt and you pull the coals in underneath and around it. And then you take tongs and you put them on the top as well.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
And so you get heat on all sides just like you do in your oven at home. And if you are cooking in, let's say a parking lot where you
Yeah.
can't have an open fire, if you can go to a dollar store and buy a bunch of self-lighting charcoal briquettes,
Yeah.
okay, you can get a little thing to do where you put them all in the tall, skinny thing and you light the charcoal briquettes until they start to turn white.
Yes.
And then you take them out and you pour them under and over your cast iron. It's not going to hurt the parking lot. It's not going to hurt your cast iron. You can do your cooking when you're baking and you're roasting right there in the Walmart parking lot if you need to.
That's awesome. I love this. I feel like this is like these are life skills, people. Like you should know this. I mean, who knows where our world will be in another year? You're gonna need to know how to cook and be able to do things on the fly. So I tell people like pay attention to this.
Did you ever watch The Walking Dead?
Yes.
So I watched it right up until
Like what is it? Season 7 or 8 is when I stopped.
I stopped watching it when the Asian guy died.
Oh, Glenn died.
Glenn.
Yep.
Not because of
Spoiler
Glenn.
alert, but yes, he
But
died.
I think everybody knows that by this point.
I know it. I feel like it's been about, I don't know, 4 years, 5 years since he died in the show.
Right.
So you should
So-
know by now, but I get out, somebody will bitch at me about it. But I'm just saying, that was horrific. And I
Yes.
don't think the show was any good after that point.
I never watched it after. I've seen bits and pieces here and there, but I look at shows that talk about apocalypse stuff, and I ask myself, where would I be if I were in these shows? And the answer is hell of a lot better space.
I know. I tell you, like the only place I thought they made any sense was when they were at the prison, just because, I mean, you want to build it like a castle, or you have like a defense, like a moat around it basically, or a wall. But like
they don't climb. The zombies don't climb.
Exactly. Why not just make a really nice big wall and then find a way to make it so, like you have two walls. So you go between one and you go into the next, and then you like shut that one. So that way, if any get in, you can take care of those zombies. And then
I got an even better one. So you pop on down to New York City, right?
Yeah.
Okay. You hop yourself up in one of those nice, really tall apartment buildings.
Yeah, they're not going to get up there.
Well, I mean, they could. They could climb. They climb stairs. I mean, we've seen them kind of work their way upstairs. You want to avoid that. Okay. So you get yourself up there. You make sure you have ingress and egress from the exterior of the building. And then you go out to Lowe's and you pick up 4,000 pounds of cement and you fill the bottom 4 floors with cement so that there ain't nothing coming through there.
Yeah.
And then when you want to go down, you crawl down it like you would from a treetop. Problem solved. Now I can cook whatever.
Like, the main thing that kept screwing things up was other humans, really. I mean, the zombies were a problem, but the other humans screwed up everything. So I like your idea.
Because they trusted people?
Yeah. I mean, don't trust any freaking people. Jesus.
I really don't. Somebody in the prepper community once said, "Oh, don't bother Allyson's house." They are the type of people who, in that kind of like end of the world scenario, would shoot you and leave your rotting body at the end of the driveway as a warning to others. I'm like, yeah.
I'd be like, I'm gonna leave you alone. Hey. But I mean, like, your idea though of like the bottom floors being mostly cement, that way they can't run a vehicle into it and try to melt the beams or whatever.
And it can't be set on fire.
Yeah.
And it can't be breached.
Yeah.
And
it's unbreachable. It makes total sense. And then on like the upper levels, you could have some levels that have like greenhouses so you can grow food up there, so you don't even hardly have to come down.
Right. And if you want,
like, water gathering towers so you can get water up there. I mean, like,
and you could run bridges across to the other big buildings. There's no saying you have to stay in one.
Exactly. And then just make sure they're defensible. So that way, if somebody does let a bunch of zombies up another building, you could at least like break it down if you needed to. Yeah, I love this. See, you and I are so much alike. I'm like, yes. These are the things I think about all the time. I'm like, what would I do? This is part of my anxiety, but I'm always ready. So if anything goes down, I'm like, okay, we got this.
So I belong to a number of old school prepper networks.
Oh yeah.
So not the bunker babies, but
like,
I know a couple of bunker babies and some raiders, but they're not the people I hang with. The people I hang with are the people who just want to do canning and gardening like Grandma did. And so that's what we do. And when we had the farm, which I hate every day that we still don't have it, but when we had the farm, we raised 100 chickens a few times a year.
Yeah.
And we butchered them. So I grew all my only chicken. We went hunting for deer and for turkey and duck and geese, and we traded with local farmers. There was a farmer up the road. He did harvesting with those big machines.
Oh, fun.
But the big machines don't take everything. And so we would buy gleaning rights to the fields before the machines went through. So we would give him, 10 pounds of chicken, and he would give us an entire day in the field to pick whatever the hell we wanted.
Oh, how sweet. What a great deal.
Yeah. And so he was happy. We were happy. And everybody fridge was, yeah, exactly. I mean,
And
we
I
got
think
to the
that's
point.
what society would be like. I mean, if things did fall apart, I mean, not all the way probably, but if you could just trade with people, I think we could figure it out.
Yeah.
You just
And
gotta
I
have
think
stuff
if we
that
could just
people
like
want.
border all the lawyers down in Texas somewhere. Sorry to anybody who's in Texas. I just picked a
Yeah,
state at random.
or
It could be
lawyers, I
Georgia.
suppose.
All the lawyers and bad cops and the politicians and
Oh, the
everybody
bad,
else can be
yeah.
up here.
Well, I just say nasty people in general. They can go and they can make their own island and have fun, and it'll probably be like in The Stand, where the good guy people who survived the apocalypse would go to Colorado, and the bad guy people would go to Las Vegas. It'd probably be like that.
I
So
haven't actually seen The Stand, so.
oh, or in a book, it's like a huge book. But they had which I will say it messed me up so much that when our pandemic hit, I was like, "Oh my God, it's Captain Trips. We're all doomed." But it was not that.
I
But
have to admit, I went through my own. I had huge issues when the pandemic started. I had a lot of
yeah,
anxiety, and I did a lot of. I was doing daily online blog posts
yeah, a
because
process. I
I
bet.
needed to process it. I needed to reach out and know that there were people there, and
Yeah,
that was what helped me through. That and new meds, but
I think the good thing about being a writer and a reader in general is that you get to experience all these other worlds where the worst case scenario can happen, but you can see how the hero can survive it and overcome obstacles and anything. And since I know that's possible in books, I'm like, maybe it can happen in real life, and I'm not gonna let this break me. It took a little bit, and it took a lot of talking to people and kind of making myself chill out a little bit too. But I got there.
yeah.
Got there. And I'm glad to hear. Well, I mean, I'm not glad to hear anybody who went through the same thing I did, but it makes me feel more human and normal knowing that I'm not the only one. So
No, you're definitely not the only one. I've gotten a lot better recently, over the past few months. I've been watching the science, and I have a friend who um, is a retired, but she used to work for, she was an epidemiologist's assistant. She actually
oh, cool.
handled the original SARS virus
Oh, wow. So
for
she's
testing
in it.
purposes. So
Yeah.
she gets access to a lot of stuff that, I mean, it's not that it's not public, but it's not easy to find unless you know people.
Yeah.
And the media is really not being very forthcoming. Are they ever? But they're really not
No.
being forthcoming. So I get a lot of information from her. So like, I've been reading about what's the deal with ivermectin, and is there really anything to this whole turmeric thing, and
Yeah.
what's going on. And so
Well, she would be an interesting person to interview. I mean, really, if she wanted to talk to about it, she probably doesn't.
she talks to a very small number of us. One of the things that I was asked to do early in the pandemic, when we thought it would, be over in a couple of weeks.
Wasn't that nice of us to think that could happen?
2 weeks to flatten the curve. Yeah.
If
But
only.
if you look at the site, I posted a link there to a book called Penning the Pandemic. And Penning the Pandemic is it's an anthology of poetry, stories, and impressions from early in the pandemic. And I managed to get my work in this one. It was done by a local authors group here. And yeah, there it is.
Yeah.
And I don't get any money for it. It helps the the writers group that I belong to. They're awesome people and just really fantastic. But it
Oh,
was
very
it was
cool.
fun writing it, and on top of it all, it means that, like, 5 years from now, I can pick that up and say, what was I thinking back then? And it's all there. We all wrote in poetry or in art or in stories and whatnot, the things that we were feeling and worried about, and how we coped and things like that. And it when I was asked to write for it, I was like, oh yeah, I want in. So it was
I just
kind of
posted
exciting.
a link into our chat for all the channels for a
Oh,
link
cool.
to that book. So if anyone's interested in it, go take a look. Oh, it's weird. On a couple of them, it had an error, but it says, "Wait a moment, then try again." And it's like half of them it worked and half of them didn't. So I will post it to the Freedom Revolution Network and Liberty Librarian page, and I will get it to work. But in the meantime, I will just bring this up. That's what it is. So Penning the Pandemic Anthology, and it is on Amazon. So go check
it is.
out. Well, oh God, this cat is all over me. I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
I tell you, he's like the biggest ham when it comes to cameras lately. I'm in night classes and he has to be right up front so everyone can see him. So I think he wants to be a star.
Well, we have 4 bunnies. The one that you saw in my video from yesterday was Mittens, and she's tiny. She's like she's like yay big. She's about the size of my head, maybe a little larger.
Yeah.
And she's really light, and she's adorable, and she's like such an angry little ball of hatred.
It's so funny because I don't think of bunnies as being so angry. But
oh my God, they are! Oh my God, they do this stomp thing when they're pissed off with you. No, it's just like a single stomp. And you wouldn't think something so tiny and small and fluffy could be that. And it resounds. The house shakes.
You're like,
so we have
what?
Mittens is this tiny little loaf of bunny, right?
Yeah.
But then we have 2 giant Fleming crosses.
So those are big bunnies.
Those bunnies are bigger than your cat.
like dog-sized bunnies almost. You know,
they are
like small
and
dogs.
they have no idea of their own size. And of course they've been bred to think of themselves as prey animals, even though they really aren't, as evidenced by some of the scratches and stuff I have on me.
You're abused by rabbits.
But we have one Szabo. She's pure white. She has these giant ears. They're huge.
So wait, so she's Szabo. That's like French for hat.
Yes, we have Mittens, Szabo, socks, buttons, and Boots passed away.
Oh,
this was my children. It was not me. I swear to God.
It's all a theme. It's all clothing-based names. I love that so hard. That is so awesome.
They're adorable.
They're angry bunnies, though. So
they are. Well, Szabo is the antithesis of the angry bunny. She doesn't like to be held, but she loves to be loved.
Oh, that's
so like
good.
She was running around in the living room the other day, and like they have these huge pens that they stay in.
Yeah.
But every day we let them out for a little while to just free roam around the one part of the house, except for Mittens, who owns the upstairs. She's
like, she has my space.
It is her space. None of the other bunnies are allowed up here, and she doesn't go downstairs, so it's all good.
Does she fight with the other bunnies or something?
Oh yeah, she would kill the other bunnies.
Oh, so she's really a toughie.
She is. She's really a nasty bun.
That's so weird. I never thought of rabbits being mean to each other like that, but I guess they do.
They are extremely territorial.
It's just so weird. I got cat ass in my face. Sorry.
I'm trying to find a picture of Szabo so I can show her off.
Oh yeah, I would love to see that.
Here, but I can't live stream it because I have pictures that are not appropriate to show to everybody.
Yeah, if you
aha, here. I've got it. I can share now. Okay, let me see.
Hold on one second. Let me give you. How do I do this?
It seems to let me be able to share screen. So let me see.
Then you can do it now, I think.
Share screen.
Should, because.
Okay.
But if not, let me.
Entire screen. Yep, that'll work. I can do that. Oh no, it's not letting me.
I wonder if I have to do something weird. Oh, let me.
Oh, I see what I did. Okay, hold on. Here we go.
There you go. I see it popping up. And I just got to add it for you. There.
So this
Oh, Chapeau.
this is Chapeau.
Oh my God, so
And this is what
cute.
she likes to do. She nuzzles and then she just wants to sit there and be loved
Oh, she's got
constantly.
a sweet face. I love her.
She's adorable, and her ears, I
Her
like
ears
just
go forever.
they are, and she's so inquisitive, and she loves to nuzzle. So she'll come up and she'll nip you gently until
Oh,
you yeah, I can stop my share. Hold
yeah.
on. There we
Yes.
go. But she'll get all like she pushes up against you and sticks her nose under your hand until you pet her.
Pet me.
Love me.
Love me now. I get that too. Like I sometimes I'll have a cat under both arms, like just hold us. Hold us. Oh. And it's not like I don't give them attention. Obviously, if you see the show, I'm holding them all the time.
Yes.
But it's so sweet. I love your bunnies. I'm so glad. Thank you for sharing that.
You're
Chapeau
welcome.
is so cute. I feel like every time you should just show me different pictures of bunnies now. Every that you're on the show, like the
Well, next
bunny of
time
the day.
remind me. I will show you socks
I
next
will like
time.
to see your socks next time. It sounds
He's
weirdly.
adorable, but he does not know how big he is. So when Chapeau Binkies is when they do this thing where they're so happy that they leap for unbridled joy. And this is a rabbit
Really?
thing. They
Oh,
just jump in the air. It's a rabbit thing,
that
and
is so
all
fun.
rabbits do it when they're happy.
Like,
And
wow.
when when Chapeau does it, she's the biggest of all the rabbits. First off, the living room shakes when she does it, but she doesn't really understand where her butt is. So she will do these leaps and her butt will go flying through the air and she'll be like flipping herself over and she'll be like, "What happened?
There's
I
like
did
no
not see that
control.
bus."
Like, how did that happen?
But
Well,
she gets so excited, so
sometimes when you have unbridled happiness, you don't know how it's gonna go.
it's
Oh,
so cute to watch though.
I love that. Well, I think we're about out of time tonight,
I
but I'm
know.
so glad that we got to visit and got to talk to you, and we got to do a little writing, and we got to see you got to see my cats, I got to see your rabbits. So I mean, like I feel like this is a huge success of a night.
Oh yeah. And I hit 3,000 words for the day, so I am now caught up. Yay!
Way to go, Allison. I need to do just a little bit more. I think I have to do about another 500, 600 more, and then I'll feel like I'm at a good stopping point. But I might
I'm
take a
like
little break and eat first.
I'm dead center of an exciting scene, so I'm actually going to stop there for the night so that tomorrow when I sit down, I'll be like, "Oh, I got to write this."
See, isn't it so much easier when you like
Oh
have
yeah,
something you're like, this is like the best of a really good scene. I'm gonna pick right up. I know where it's going. If you finish
exactly.
a scene, then you're like, now what? Ugh,
I
now
don't know
what?
where to start tomorrow. Yeah.
Exactly. So I think this is a perfect place to stop for the night.
All
Um,
right.
I hope you all are having good luck with your NaNoWriMos too. Get
Yes.
get your time in. It's so much fun to see it finish. And I'm actually over the halfway point, but I'm not going to promise that I will be done early or on time, but I will do my best.
And remember, if you are behind, it does not mean you can't recover. And even if you don't win, if you put down as many words as you can and you work at this, you still win. I'm
You're
sorry,
all
you do.
winners.
I am declaring you winner. I will on the 30th of November. I will come out here with my tiara and my wand, and I will declare you all winners.
Yes, I love that. I'm gonna make that happen. I'm like, what day is our last day? Oh
It's
man,
like a Tuesday.
yeah, man. Okay, so we'll have to do something special on that day, the 30th. I will have to figure it out. I have a night. Well, I probably have a night class at night, but we're gonna still figure out something because
We'll figure
we got to
something out.
do something. Exactly. But I love you guys. I love you, Allison. Thank you so much for being on the show. I hope you all have a great week, and we'll see you next week. Take
See you then.
care. See you later. See.